Live. Here we are. So I have a guest joining here in a minute, and I need to get joined up. Hopefully she's joining. Hopefully we're on the same. Jen Jaxan. There she is. How do I think you have to ask to come in, or do I ask you? I will invite you. Hopefully this works. Why won't it let me invite you? Oh boy. Nobody's here. That's cool. What's up here? We are getting set up here. Just wanted to take some time today to talk about this course that I'm bringing back called Into the Abyss. I am going to be on with Jen Jaxan, who is not wanting to join me apparently. All right, here we are. Accept. Maybe. Tuesday.
Hey.
Hey. What's up?
It's been a very long time since I've done a live, and I totally forgot how to do it.
I dig it. It's all good. What's going on? Are you connected well?
Yeah. I'm like right next to my Wi-Fi box thingy, so hopefully
There you go.
But I live in the middle of nowhere, so we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, so it's been a while since I've touched done a live Into the Abyss, anything, the course. I did 2 live sessions mid-pandemic when we were all freaking out about everything, and everybody was doing an online course. I just said, fuck it, and I put it up there, and it's just kind of been out there. And now I'm bringing it back. A lot of refreshed content, a lot of new things, some stuff that you're actually bringing to the table. And I just kind of wanted to bring it back, because for those of you who are watching, which isn't anybody right now, there'll probably be more people watching later when I repost this. When I first said, hey, I'm doing this thing, I had no idea what it was called. I didn't really even know what I was going to do. My teaching philosophy is, the student drives the learning, right? It's like, what are your goals? What are your motivations? Let me help with that. And you signed up out of nowhere. I had no expectation. And you had just signed on to be to do copy and email marketing for a company. What? Oh gosh, what are you doing?
I was taking off my case on my phone because I just remembered when it's on, the audio gets all jacked up. So, right. So we're good. I forgot about that, but I had gotten a job and I had never done any copywriting before, and so I came to you desperate for any kind of help.
For sure. And the thing is, I was just like, okay, show me what you've done. Show me what you think this needs to look like. Because you were writing, you were doing email marketing for some stuff, and you sent it over, and it was pretty fucking good for somebody who had never done copywriting before. Oh. And I realized that there's there's almost this expectation that it needs to be like this wildly more complicated psychoanalytical process than what it actually is. And what it is learning to trust yourself a lot more than a lot of people give themselves credit for. So that was interesting. But I just remember I had initially set out and created this thing out of necessity because I was getting so many. I was on Fiverr and Upwork at the time, and I was getting so many clients in the door saying, I just hired this other guy to write my copy, and it's fucking terrible. And so I want to hire you to rewrite it. And their budget was $50, right? And I was just like, okay, if your budget's $50, if your budget's anything less than $1,000, you're probably better off doing it yourself. And so I set out to create something that was I don't want to spend time doing all of these silly little projects. I'd rather just make something that gives people the confidence to actually do it themselves. And initially it was this ebook I was writing called The 2 Hour Copywriter, it sounded awful. It was terrible. And I realized I was teaching all the crap that the horrible $50 copywriters were teaching, or using rather. So yeah, then I was just like, you know what, we're just going to take the reins off and see where this goes. And now I'm here. Now I'm here pushing it back out into the world.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I know that I did this when I was first starting out, like trying to learn how to write copy. And I think people do the same thing with social media, where you see what everyone else is doing and you start copying them. And most of the copy out there, I mean, you know, have you heard of, it's called broetry now is the big thing, where it's like this copy that's like one line at a time. And it was like, and then the thing that changed my life forever. And
it's all over LinkedIn. I see it a lot, and it's just like, I was late to work because I, ran into this homeless guy, and I decided to feed him a 4-course meal and buy him a haircut. And all, it's like, none of that happened.
No.
It's like, then I hired him, and now he's my CEO. And like, no.
And people see it from like a mile away. My Facebook friends, like most of them are people trying to sell me shit, and they do these posts that are exactly like that. And as soon as I see it, I know they're trying to sell me something. And I think most people have wised up to that by now, that kind of copywriting.
You would think, but especially on LinkedIn, I spend way too much time over there. All those kind of posts still get all the traction, right? They get all the likes and the comments and the resharing. There was one the other day. I was just like, I bet a robot wrote this, and sure enough, I was just like, pretty sure somebody just like make a LinkedIn broetry post about this, and AI wrote it for him. Yeah. I was like, very good. Very good. So we have literally hit like the least genuine points of anything. But with what ended up becoming Into the Abyss and what it is now, it's a lot of realizing that everything you're trying to do is already, it's already out there. So how do you get to the point where you trust yourself to just say what you need to say? And that's kind of where we go forward. And then from there, we kind of build in these principles of copywriting, like, learning to tell a story, learning, not necessarily how to manipulate emotions, but really understanding what an emotion is and how to speak to it, developing, story and conflict and everything else. And, hopefully, giving you the tools to kind of, do it yourself. So, don't have to hire a $50 copywriter every time. What do you think of it?
Well, I guess I should kind of go into like my story and what I was able to do with it. So I had taken the course and learned how to write copy and everything. And then after my second kid was born, I somehow fell into writing social media video scripts. So like scripts for Reels and TikToks and all that, for like very well-known influencers. And that was kind of the thing, is that when I started applying for those gigs, people told me repeatedly, like, you're the best writer we've seen. Kind of everyone is doing that same copying, what everybody else does. Like, here are my 3 tips, 5 tips, whatever. And that stuff doesn't really work anymore. And I incorporated kind of like a lot of my own stories, which is kind of funny, into stuff I wrote for influencers. So there's people out there with videos about stories that happened to them that actually happened to me.
So you're telling me these people don't write their own content?
No.
You don't say.
Yeah. I mean, these are people with like, hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff, and they just don't have time, and they don't care. They just, they're happy to read a few lines and into a camera or whatever. So that's kind of what I was able to do with it. And I got a lot of very positive feedback, made a lot of money, which is always, nice, kind of the end goal there. Yeah. So yeah, and I think, I mean, just from my own experience with creating video content, that's what performs really well. Is I see that everyone's kind of gotten sick of the stuff that is very blatantly selling you. And I mean, you can read in the comments and people call, people out, you're just trying to sell me your shit. So I guess that's kind of where I went with it, is I was able to then have a pretty good little side gig, turned it into a full-time gig. writing scripts and everything. And then I turned that into doing like video editing and now kind of full service social media stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for anybody that ends up watching this, we're trying to sell you some shit, mostly because I'm bringing Into the Abyss back for some live sessions. We're opening up to a handful of people. It takes place over the month of June, so we get started June 1st. But there's really only really four concrete dates that you need to be really present for. Everything else is kind of done through an online portal, through a community at your own pace. So there's only four dates you need to be aware of, and you get to pick two of them. So, really only two. So it's very flexible. And then the idea is that you're then able to take everything out of the course, and it's built to be sustainable in the long term. And what we're adding to this, which is, again, one of that, just kind of take the reins off and see where things go. When you and I were talking the other day, it was just like, oh, let's just throw some video expertise into this. And so you're actually joining on for a piece of this to share what you know about what you've learned and how you've taken the principles of the Abyss, applied it to video storytelling, and now, making all this money writing stuff for dumbass influencers who can't do their own stuff.
Yeah. And hopefully my own stuff soon. That's been like pushed to the back burner for months and months and months. But yeah. Yeah, because I mean
It always is.
The same principles apply, and it doesn't matter if it's like a Mr. Beast video or if it's just like a social, a post on social media. It's all the exact same stuff. It's all about the storytelling, and like kind of being, I don't know, I hate the word authentic, but kind of like making it yours so that you stand out among everybody else. That's exactly what, I always talk about Mr. Beast. That's exactly what Mr. Beast does.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done pretty well for himself.
Yeah. I have opinions, but that's not fair. That's not fair. Believe it or not, I have an opinion. So I guess what is kind of one of the biggest crossovers between what happens in the Abyss and what you bring to the video component? Like what would you say is the most direct, obvious, interesting how that worked?
So I know we kind of talked beforehand and you didn't want to give away everything, but I do need to give away this one because if you do that, you take away one thing and you do one thing, that'll totally change your social media content. And the biggest thing that I got from the Abyss is being able to create conflict. So if you look at any movie, which is the video content that's been around forever, there's always this conflict. And what I always tell people is if you think of the movie Legally Blonde, it's about a blonde valley girl who we think of as very ditzy, and she goes into the most prestigious law school, Harvard Law. Whereas if it were just a regular person who was applying to law school at Harvard, that's not very interesting. What makes it interesting is there's that conflict there. And anytime you can incorporate that into a video, those are the ones that I see that do really, really well, go viral, get tons and tons of views, is because it's unexpected. And people are just absolutely drawn to conflict. We're social primates. That's what we love.
Yeah.
So yeah. Kind of my favorite right now on TikTok is a woman who is in her 80s or 90s, and she kind of does all of the hot girl stuff. So it's the get ready with me and the showing off her outfit. And she's I look so fucking sexy, which is unexpected. We're used to seeing a hot 22-year-old do that, but we're not used to seeing an 80-year-old do that. So that kind of creates that conflict there where it's a woman showing off how hot she is, but she's 90 years old.
Is it the same woman that's just I'm so hot in this dress, this is what I want to be buried in 6 months or something like?
Yeah, and there was one she did that's it got 50 million views, but she was getting ready for her ex's funeral, which is just you don't think of someone trying to look hot for their ex's funeral, but
may as well. The one last fuck you, I suppose.
Yeah.
But in terms of conflict, the section in the Abyss, I call it the great big butt because I'm 14, and the idea is one day a person woke up and went about their normal day, but something happens, right? And that but is kind of the introduction of this conflict. Especially when you talk about in terms of Legally Blonde, is the easiest way to like discover a story in a conflict is to take either an ordinary person and put them in an extraordinary situation, or take an extraordinary person and put it into a very ordinary situation. And that in and of itself, just because those two things don't match up, you already have that conflict, right? You think about, what was that Will Smith superhero movie where like, he's a superhero, but he's also a screaming alcoholic or something. And so he's just trying to deal with the very real worldness of it. Versus, the classic Spider-Man, like this normal kid and these normal, bullshit kid situations. And then, here's this extraordinary circumstance that he's part of. But that is very much in like a fictional superhero aspect, but it's like, okay, it's also possible for you, an ordinary person, and you find these extraordinary situations of, I'm going to my ex's funeral, right? That's not ordinary. That is extraordinary, beyond the ordinary. So this is all stuff that we touch on into the course, which, signing up for it now, link in the place where the links go. Wherever the links are going to go, that's where it'll be. And if not, you can follow follow me here, and I will figure out a way to get you into this. But yeah, so Jen here, you're below me. I don't know if I'm above you or not. Jen here will be joining us for this session to really go deep into how to make a viral video, more or less, how to incorporate storytelling into your video, because that is what every solopreneur, self-employed, I'm in charge of all the marketing kind of people need, because look at this. It's all about video. So look for that, and we'll probably jump on and do more of these, and hopefully get some Q&As going. So that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got, or else I'm going to just give away more stuff.
Yeah, I don't need you doing that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking with me here, and I'll let you get back to your day out in the middle of nowhere here.
All right. Taking care of the baby.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.